So we have some questions. So if all the presenters could just turn on their video cameras just while we get some of these questions addressed, that would be great. I realise we've only got 5 or 6 minutes or so, just try and get through as many as we can. So there's one specifically here about entry requirements. So they have a member of staff who doesn't have, let me just see, it does not have a C in English or Maths at GCSE. Would that restrict them from progressing and applying for a higher level apprenticeship? So who would like to take that?
Mark, I'm happy to take that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, if the person applying doesn't have the minimum requirements, particularly for GCSEs, it would prevent them from progressing their application. However, as I mentioned during my presentation, we can then signpost them through to our Careers Academy, who will advise them of sort of what they should do next. Maybe it is a return to college to get that GCSE and then maybe apply the following year. And it is worth noting for some of the courses, and this is where we have good relationships with the awarding bodies and with Ulster, that we will check eligibility with them as well, because accreditation of prior experiential learning may also be considered as well.
Okay, thank you, Brona. So the next question, a staff member has a foundation degree level 5, this person thinks. Can they go in at level 6, or do they need to do the level 4, 5 and 6 progression? Who would like to take that one?
Mark? I can take that one. Yeah, so if a student, dependent upon obviously the foundation degree, but for example, if it was in a technical foundation degree, so it's the software development, then they would be eligible for advanced entry onto the degree program. So on computing systems, that means they could join at level 5, and then they could complete in 2, 3, or 4 years as they wished. So they would effectively, skip over those first 6 level 4 modules. So absolutely, yeah.
Okay, that's great to know. Mark, actually, just while we've got you, we've got another one specifically for you. Beyond the scheduled timetable on the computing systems course, what time commitment is required, and is the company expected to offer apprentices time for this?
Yeah, so currently each module on the course occupies 3.5 hours a week, and that represents about 1/3 of the indicative study time. So for each module they study, you really be looking at 5 to 7 hours of independent study throughout the week. The companies aren't expected to make time for that. However, many companies do make allowances around exam time or around, the end of the semester when deadlines are tight, and maybe afford the apprentices some flexibility with their own time management. But that's the type of time commitment. It's about 1/3 of taught contact time on campus, and about 2/3 then expected of independent study.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Abby, one for yourself. So if an apprentice leaves the company, are we financially liable for the learning costs?
No. So I think it's worth noting that because the Department for the Economy covers the tuition fees in most cases, if for any reason an apprentice decides to leave, then there is no financial responsibility in terms of the employer covering any fees. The department will cover the tuition fees for the successfully completed modules. It is worth saying that where this has arisen, we would encourage employers and apprentices to try to get to the end of an academic year, because there are sometimes lower qualifications that a student can exit with, and it just means that it hasn't been that they're getting recognition for the learning they have done. So they may not go on to complete the full degree, but they may get recognition of learning they have done. And there also exists the opportunity, and it's worth employers knowing this, that should an apprentice leave your employment, but take up employment with another employer in a similar role, that employer can choose to continue to support the apprenticeship. So the actual apprenticeship is relatively portable if the employer wishes to continue, a new employer wishes to continue supporting it. So it's worth knowing that even if in terms of employing, if you're looking at employing someone who is already in an apprenticeship, you can continue to support that as well.
Well, that's great. I didn't know that. That's fantastic. And just sort of around the same theme then, do we have to pay the apprentice a full-time wage or salary, even though they are in university 1 day a week? So I guess what they're looking to do is pay for this. I don't know, but that's what the question.
No, it does. That is a question that comes up quite often, and no, the expectation is you are paying the salary for the time that they are with you, and whilst they may be in university that 1 day a week, that they are still in employment. So if they're employed, if their contracted hours are 36 hours, or 37 hours, which also includes their time in university, then that is the salary or wage that you are paying them. You don't get to pay 80% of a wage because they're training as well. That is all part of the deal, as it were, when you engage apprentices.
That's good. That's quick. That's clear. Okay. Alison, can I develop an apprenticeship specifically for my company? I think you did touch on it during your presentation, or somebody did, but just if you could refresh us on that.
Yep. So Abby touched on this. So no, we wouldn't allow development of company-specific apprenticeships. We would expect a sectoral development of any new apprenticeship programme. But as even in Mark's presentation, you can see that existing apprenticeship provision is incredibly flexible. So it's not to say that, you can't, there's no workarounds to ensure that it's completely tailored to your needs. So, but no, we wouldn't accept development of a new apprenticeship just from one company.
Okay, that makes sense. This one's actually come in, maybe Abby, is for Helen, but if you could maybe answer it or see if you could field it.
I will try.
Okay, this company has 1 or 2 employees who might benefit from the business in technology degree, or the master's in business and technology, sorry. How do they ensure they're eligible? Is it a matter of getting in contact with yourselves, or?
Yes. Yeah, so there's a process in place for existing employees. So we would encourage any employer who's considering an existing employee for an apprenticeship to get in touch with us right at the very start of that process. Because what we need to do is, one, ensure that they are in a new role, and there will be requirements that they will have to complete in terms of documentation. And also to ensure that the role that they are in requires the skills and knowledge that can only be gathered through the Master's Apprenticeship in Business and Technology. I do have some slides to help that process, and certainly to show the articulation between the job-specific skills that are required and how that aligns with the learning that takes place on that programme. So there's a bit of prep work needs done by the employer and the prospective apprentice for that route where they are existing employees. But what I'd say is get in touch with us and we can discuss that sort of in that step-by-step process, because it is there is some documentation that needs to be completed.
Okay, thank you very much, Abby. So that brings to a close the questions. That was a great session. Thank you, everybody. There's so much information, and everybody who signed up and who was watching stayed on for the vast majority of the duration of that. So you're obviously doing something right. Great information for everybody. I find it really enjoyable and really informative. So we're going to close. Barry, if you could go to the next slide there. So that's my email address. So if you have any questions for anybody, just get in touch with me and I can redirect them if you didn't catch anybody else's email address. We will be putting these slides up on the presentation on our YouTube channel in the coming days or so. So it will be there again for reference if you need to go back or if you need to forward it on. It's going to be a resource there. So all that's left for me to do is to thank everybody who attended. Thanks very much. And thank all the presenters. That was brilliant. Thank you. And we will close it there.
All the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.